Hi, class. I'm going to do a quick introduction for the book you're going to read next, The Secrets of the Civil War Submarine, um, which is about solving the mysteries of H.L. Hunley, which was the first submarine to actually work and be used in battle, and it happened during the Civil War. The submarine was built by the Confederates and manned by them. And this book is the story of that submarine. So, this is our first nonfiction book that we'll be doing this year. We have a second one that'll be for the second part of February called Mistakes That Worked. So, we're going to spend 2 weeks reading this submarine book and then 2 weeks reading Mistakes That Worked. Um, I chose this because I thought it was an interesting topic, especially since you live in the South. Most everybody knows some information about the Civil War. Most of our information is living here in Georgia in the Marietta area. We talk a lot about Kennesaw Mountain and the part of the Civil War that was fought on land. But we also had part of the Civil War was fought in water. And this is the story of the first submarine that was used in the Charleston area. The reason they needed the submarine in Charleston is that there was a blockade that had been put in place by the Union soldiers that was keeping any food or goods coming in or out of Charleston, and it was choking the city. So they needed something to help break that blockade, and this was what they came up with. Now, the book is interesting because it's kind of written in two parts, and I want to show you a couple of pages. The first part, I don't know if you can how well this is showing up on the video, but the first part, the pages are all kind of a yellow color, and this is the history behind submarines, the history behind what I just was telling you briefly about Charleston and the blockade that was there, and the need for a way to secretly get close to the ships that were causing that blockade. It also has got a little bit of science in here as it talks about how a submarine works, what mechanisms in the submarine cause it to be able to dive or submerge, and then also to come back up to the surface of the water. So there's some science in here. Um, those of you who have been in my science class, physical science, or you're taking it now, you're going to recognize some of the words about buoyancy and neutral buoyancy. Buoyant force, you're going to see all of that in here. So all of these pages that are the history and the science are yellow colored. And then about halfway through the book, it changes over. And you can kind of see the difference between these two pages. The one here is yellowish, and then over here, beginning with chapter 5, the pages are white. This takes the history part is over, and it takes part into modern telling of the Hunley because it is lost at sea in this part, but then it is searched for and found and then recovered in the second half of the book. And that's pretty much going to be the division of how you're going to do your reading. You're going to read the first half this week and answer questions and do your activities. And then the second half you're going to do next week, the white pages, that is the more modern history. And I just was talking to a mom today, Miss Shannon Bettis, and we were talking about how when her daughter took the class, the Hunley was actually being transported through Atlanta as it was on a national tour. And as it was coming through Atlanta, the truck pulling it had a breakdown on 285. And so it made the news this time in February when I was doing this several years ago, whenever Allie was taking the class. It made the news. It was on the news reports on television as well as in the newspaper and on the internet that the Hunley was broken down in Atlanta. So, that part of the story is really still pretty recent. You can go see the Hunley if you go to Charleston, I believe is where the museum is. You can go to Charleston and there's a museum completely built all around the Hunley, and it has the story of the Confederate battle there in Charleston, as well as all of the science and the history around that submarine. Um, I think it's in Charleston. I'll have to double check that. It may be in Columbus because there's also a museum in Columbus, Georgia, where the Chattahoochee comes in that way about the naval part of the Civil War. And it could be that's where the Hunley is. So I'll have to double check and see which place that the Hunley is located right now. So that kind of gives you an idea of what you're going to be doing in this book. And I also want to show you of how you're going to record the information that you're learning while you read. You don't have a reading guide. Yay! You don't have vocabulary words this week. Yay! I know you're tired of those. And so what you're doing instead is you're going to create something that's called a step book. And in your homework page, there is a link to a video where you can watch a lady make a step book. But I wanted to show you what it looks like and how simple they are to put together. Hers, she makes a little more complicated. You don't have to do all the artsy craftsy things that she does on her step book. I just want you to have a place, an interesting place to write facts. So here's what one looks like. I did mine with printer paper. You can use all white if you want to. I just am a color kind of person, so I like to use colored paper. So this is printer paper. You could also use construction paper if you want to use that. Cardstock would work, but it's probably a little thick for this activity. It'd be hard to bend it right here. And what you're going to do is if you take 5 sheets, then this should work for the whole book. And you see I've got 5 sheets and I put them together like this so that each page leaves a little bit showing, and then the next page comes right up underneath it. There's the 5 pages. And then if I turn this around, you can see the divisions down here. So it's about an inch or so underneath each of those divisions. And then what you do is you fold over the top so that this division lines up about an inch away from this division. See? These two are the same color, so it's hard to tell them apart. Let me turn it sideways. You can see them like that, where the pages. So now I have a step book. And then you can staple here across the top so it will stay still. So I'll do that real quick. Staple, staple, staple. Okay, now my step book is stapled. What you're going to do is right here, this is going to be the title of your book, Secrets of a Civil War Submarine. And then right here on this strip where you can see, you're going to write chapter 1. Now there's a prologue, but you don't have to report information on the prologue if you don't want to. You can just go ahead and start with chapter 1, but if you think there's some important information there and you want to remember it, this first line should just say prologue in chapter 1. So I'm going to go ahead and write that on there. I'm just going to write chapter 1. My phone is whistling at me. Alright, so you see how I wrote chapter 1? I'll lift this up, and what's up under here, this is where I'm going to write for chapter 1. So you probably want to take a pencil, which I have somewhere, and make a light line right here so you can see where not to write below. So I'm going to do that here on the table. I'm just going to draw a line with my pencil, which I'm having trouble with the lead. Ah, can y'all hear it breaking? It keeps breaking every time I try to. I really don't like these mechanical pencils. There's one kind of mechanical pencil I like, and this is not it. I like those big ones. Okay, I drew a line. Right here you can see it when I open it up. See my line? I'm sorry the light's not real good. Now I know I can't write below that line. So here I have just a real short little place to write a summary of chapter 1. Don't really have any room for a picture for chapter 1. So you're just going to write some of the important things that happened in chapter 1. You can do that by writing in lines straight across, or if you want to kind of divide this into boxes and write your facts in the boxes. However you decide is okay with me. But you don't have to write too much about chapter 1 because you just don't have enough room. All right, and then see on this next line right here, you already know what I'm going to write. I'm going to write chapter 2. So chapter 2. Probably not this best pen I'm using. It just happened to be what was close. It's probably not real easy to see. Chapter 2. All right, and then I need to make a line right here. Follow the edge of this paper. Hopefully my pencil will cooperate better this time. So I'm just going to draw a straight line right there on the edge of that paper. And now you see my line. Now this time I have more room to write. I've got all this room to write for chapter 2. And if I want to, or you want to, you can make a picture and write about it over here. Okay, so that gives you a chance to have more information in one place. And then you're going to keep following the same thing. Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5. And you're just going to be doing through Chapter 5 this week. If you use 5 sheets, you'll have enough to do the whole book. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's how many chapters are in the book. But by the time you get to Chapter 9, look at all this space you've got to write. Woo! You have a lot of things to write, or you can draw a big picture, or you can print a picture from the internet, or copy one from the book and put it in here if you like. But this is just sort of your fact sheet. And if you decide you want more space in here, then you can do 2 books. You can make your 1 book for this week, and it just be 5. I guess use 3 pages of paper. I think that would work. And then next week make another step book that also is 3 sheets of paper. You can do that if you want to, and that'll give you more space to write. But one like this is fine with me too. So that's your major part of your assignment this week is doing that step book. So hopefully all of that explains what I want you to do. You understand it better. Watch the video about the other lady making her step book. That may help you or give you some ideas. And I guess that's it. So I will see you next week in class. I look forward to hearing the last 4 presentations, and then we'll get started on discussing this book about Hunley. And I'll see you next week. Bye.